Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our second virtual Heritage Wilmot committee meeting. Welcome to everyone viewing online, either live or afterwards as well. We'll start with the land acknowledgement, and Councillor Penning to share with the committee.
Thank you. We have gathered virtually in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thanks, Jen, and welcome, Patty. Third item, disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Any members have any pecuniary interest to disclose? Seeing none, we can move on to review of minutes from our last meeting. Any comments, questions, additions from anyone? Al?
Yeah, I don't have the minutes in front of me, but I remember reading because I'm trying to find them. But the section where we talked briefly about the Bridge Street Bridge, there's a couple little errors in there. I think it says there are 4 truss bridges remaining in the region. Well, actually, there's 4 truss bridges remaining in Wilmot Township.
Oh, okay.
And the other part is 2 of them are in the Hamburg, and the other 2 are rural bridges, and the Bridge Street Bridge is one of those rural bridges.
So 4 in the township.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. Anyone else? Right, could I have a motion to approve the minutes with Al's noted revisions? Jen? Second, Al. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. So moving right along to business. First item was the non-designated register inventory. Wanted to have a bit of a progress update and confirmation of properties to be added. Margaret and Yvonne, I know you've been busy getting the inventory list ready for us all to take a look at. And sorry, my computer's acting up. So we wanted to just go through the list of properties that you're looking at adding and review them as a group. And then following endorsement of the list, then Tracy will work with the clerk's department to provide notice to property owners. And then we'll bring a recommendation forward after that to council. So we talked last time, but one property owner who wasn't interested in being added. And I understand we'll chat about that too as a group because now we have the full list. So I think I'll turn it over to Margaret and Yvonne to introduce the list.
Thanks very much, Nick. That's great. Yvonne and I and Tracy, we all worked on this together, but Yvonne and I did the road work, drove around, looked at the schools, took as many photographs of the various schools that we could. Yvonne did that, and I either sat in the car to keep warm, and made notes, made a lot of notes, but the majority of the notes for the architectural description are all done from Yvonne's photos, which are invaluable when you're doing this type of work. So we're very pleased to share with you the list of schools that we would recommend that with your approval and after discussion that we could add to the non-designated register. This then completes all of the schools in the township, including one that's already designated under Part 4 and 4 others that are already on the list. So if you would like to take a look at this, are we able to share this document, Nick, with everyone? Yep, First of all, before we do that, Yvonne, have you got some comments to make?
No, thanks, Mark. You've done a great job.
Okay.
So I think I
Nick,
should be
you're
able
gonna
to,
share?
yeah, I should be able to pull it up.
Okay, good enough. Oh, that's terrific. Okay. This afternoon, we had a little pre-meeting. Tracy and I and Yvonne and Nick was there too for a bit, and we straightened up the list, put it in order, and Tracy did a great job right while we were talking about it. So I'm going to whiz through this really fast so we don't take up too much time. But what you've got is the title of the school, the year built, and the address. And in order, first of all, we're dealing with what I would call mid-century modern. Waterloo, Oxford, 1955. And then Holy Family Catholic School, 1959. I'm not going to go over the addresses. You can read those. I'm going to save time. Grandview Public School, 1949. And those are your mid-century moderns. And then the SS schools, school numbers were all put in order of, are they in order of SS numbers or in order of dates, Tracy?
Looks like SS numbers, Mark.
Oh yeah, right. But from the top to the, yeah, right. SS number 12, Wilmot Township, Hostetler School, built in 1900. That's on Christner Road. And the owner objected to his property being included, but we'll discuss that later. Then SS number 11, Cressman School on the Bleems Road, New Hamburg. Not too far from the thrift store, the you know, the one I mean. USS is Union School Section. SS stands for school section. Number 5, Wilmot Township St. James School, built in 1886. And the address is maybe hard to imagine. That's why we've put in brackets across from St. James Anglican Church in Hayesville. It doesn't even look like a school. It's a residence, and you'd have a hard time spotting it. USS number 1 and 2, Wilmot Township, New Dundee Public School, built 1928 and still, of course, in use. SS number 6, Wilmot Township, Haysville School, that's the community center, and was built in 1889. There's an error in the Regent's notes. It says 1899, but that's a typo. I'm pretty sure it's 1889 for sure. Number 9, SS number 7, Wilmot Township Pine Hill School. Now there's a date stone in the peak of the building. It's a gable to the street, and it's a round date stone. And it says built in 1853 with a very pretty picture of a pine tree. That's when the school started, way back when. Not this building, but buildings before that. But the date of construction of the school that is there now is 1886. And that date stone was painted by the previous owner, not the current owner. And the current owner knows that that date stone isn't correct, but it's pretty. Number 10, SS number 14, Wilmot Township. That's the one in Petersburg. And that's, you know, all the schools are significant, but this one is a bit special because it was designed by a known architect whose name from Kitchener escapes me for the moment. SS number 16, Wilmot Township Schmidt School on Sand Hills, built 1908. Number 12, SS number 18, the school in New Prussia, built in 1859 and an addition in 1856. It's at the corner of Berlitz Road and Nafzinger. And the date, the reason for putting the 1859 date, you'd never know it really unless you knew what to look for. The additions have been completely kind of swamp it. And it's part of a recycling type factory at the addition. It's different. SS number 19, Wilmot Township. This is Horn School, built in 1857. Berlitz Road at the corner of Berlitz and Sand Hills. It has a cemetery behind it. So there's always been the question, was it a school? Was it a church? And then I've got a note there below. There is a question if this is a school or church because there was a cemetery behind this building. An early topographical map shows a school across the road from the building, but does not indicate a church at this address. It is unusual to have a cemetery behind a school, but not unheard of. I feel very confident that this was a school originally and that it goes back that far. Now it's been somewhat modernized with stucco, but it still has the original 6/6 windows, so on. Number 14, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Academy. This is formerly Wilmot Senior Public School, built when, we're not sure of the date. The date is, the front entrance has been completely closed off and altered. I went and walked around it. We drove out there on Monday and couldn't find a date no matter what. The school's closed because of COVID, but it's at the corner of Bleams and Sandhills. And then there are two more schools in Wilmot Township, corner of Sandhills and Herbs Road. I'm reading from what I have, but I should be reading from what this says here. I'm sorry. Former St. Agatha Catholic School, built in 1958, 1869, and Carazon Family Community Services, formerly Wilmot Public School, built in 1965. I apologize. Instead of reading from the shared document, which I should have done, I was reading from the printed one that I have, and the order was changed this afternoon. My sincere apologies for goofing that up.
It's okay, Mark. You got them all.
And then first, now we're going to do one. Did I do Carazon?
Yep, you were just talking about that one.
And did I finish? Yeah, I finished that, I guess. And then number 17, Forest Glen Public School. We're going to add that on. Built in 1974, because it's just past the mid-century modern, but 1974 is 47 years old. Yeah, it's getting there. And then there's Beckdale Farms, which of course is not the school, but it's built circa 1880. And it's that beautiful 2-story yellow brick, coins and all the trimmings, Italianate house directly across from Sir Adam Beck Public School. And I think, is there any more below the line? I got a line here. Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go. Properties already on the non-designated register is SS number 4, Green School. SS number, is that an 8? Rosebank School, built in 1908. And SS number 9, Mannheim, thank you, built in 1908, now a private, now and currently a place of, oh yes, that's the church, right. And SS number 17, Phillipsburg School, built in 1917. And the only school that's designated under Part 4 of the Act is the Stone School, used to be a school in St. Agatha on the corner of Herbs and Notre Dame. And was designated back in 1990. But it originally started out as a school and for years was an antique shop, if you'll remember. And subsequently to that, it's been other stuff. Okay, there we are.
Thanks, Mark, for taking a run through those. I think I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute. But Tracy, I see you had your hand raised.
I just wanted to share for those that are tuning in and watching us right now, if they're curious why we have all these schools and then one property. The reason that we have this one is Beckdale Farm had been identified for at least a couple of years. And so when we were adding, going to do the update last year, and of course COVID hit, this was just a property that this committee has talked about for quite a while. And we're just attaching it onto this updated list that we give yearly to council for consideration. So that's why we have schools and then one property. So it was a carryover from previous discussions.
Thanks, Tracy, for clarifying. So a couple of things we wanted to chat about as a group, just to get insight on, was inclusion of the more mid-century modern schools. That's kind of a new territory for us to include newer schools. So wondered what people's thoughts were on that. And also I think to chat about if a property owner doesn't wish to be added to the list, how we'd like to handle that as a committee. So I think we'll just open it up to everyone's thoughts on that aspect. Yvonne?
One of the things that I was asked to do at a previous meeting was to research various non-designated lists and see how various municipalities handle it. And we are not, as a heritage committee, we are not required to have the approval of the property owner to add properties to the list. And so I think the process that we are taking is it's a formalized version, but basically as a heritage committee, we could just list the properties without asking permission. And there are a number of organizations that do that. They just add them on the list. And so what we're doing is much more formal.
Thanks, Yvonne, for clarifying that. And as follow-up too, I did look at the Heritage Act following our last meeting just to refresh on what we needed to do there. And it mirrors the same thing. You don't have to notify when you're adding a property to the register. There are new changes coming into force for the Act, but they're not in place yet, but they will require notification after it's been added. But that's all. So I guess then does, oh, Al's here, hand up there. Oh no. I guess, does anyone have any concerns adding either the mid-century schools or any questions about the other properties Mark went through, or any concerns about adding a property that there may not be support from the property owner? Jen?
So I just, I don't have a concern with it, but I think, you know, what's important for anybody who might be watching this to understand is that when we add them to a non-designated list, it doesn't impact their ability to use their property. It doesn't mean that they have to get permission from us for things. It doesn't, you know, any significant impact to them. So it's not like we're doing something to them without their consent. And I think that's you know, I still want to see if I can maybe have a conversation with the property owner at some point. But yeah, I think for me, I see it as fairly benign. So that's why I don't have any issue with it.
Thanks. Yes, it is more about just identifying the property as possibly having significance to the township. So then it's included on the list and it's identified for everyone who might be interested in. By adding all the schools, then we can say all the schools are added to the list. Oh, Tracy, you had your hand up.
Thanks, Nick. Also, just to follow up to Councillor Fenning, when and if the committee chooses to support the addition of all these properties, then what my next role would be is I would be sending a personal letter to each of the property owners to let them know that they've been selected for a particular reason. I also include a brochure on what it means to be on the non-designated, and it echoes exactly what Councillor Fenning said, that it doesn't change anything. It's just you are on the list, and it gives you some further information on what it means and what if you wanted to have a designation, or and contact information as well. So we definitely have really good, very friendly, approachable contact information and material for the property owner when they do receive it.
Great, thanks, Tracy. Anything for anyone else? Al?
Yeah, just quickly, if one of these properties, if a demolition permit is applied for, then the committee would be notified, right? That's the only thing.
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Nick, do you want to explain about the 60-day thing? That would complete the information.
Sure. Yeah, so just following on what Al said about demolition. So if a property owner of a property that's on the register wishes to demolish their building, then they are required to notify the township of their intent to remove the building. And then the township is able to delay issuing the demolition permit for 60 days. And that allows for time to review the proposal through the Heritage Committee, and then ultimately provide a recommendation to council on whether or not the property should be designated under the act, in which case then the demolition would not be supported. So it just provides that extra time to have a further review of the property and then make a decision on how we recommend council proceed. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Mark, or was that?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay.
Are you ready for a formal motion to adopt this list, or are you not?
I was
not there yet.
I was just going to ask that, Mark.
Yeah.
Would you like to make a motion to adopt the list then?
Well, maybe Yvonne would like to.
Sure. So I would like to make the motion that the proposed list of buildings be accepted. Does that sound all right?
Added to.
All right. Added to the designated non-designated register.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would.
You caught me by
that.
surprise, Mark.
Pardon?
You caught me by surprise.
Yeah, that's okay. You did.
Yeah.
Well. I would second that motion.
Great. Any final questions, comments? Don't see any hands. All in favor? That is carried. That's exciting.
Are you
Jen?
abstaining, Patty? No? Okay.
I just wanted to.
I was just paying attention to something outside, and and my mind wandered when the vote came up. I did hear Yvonne. So yes, I'm certainly in favor. There it is.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, Nick, I just wanted to say thank you to Yvonne and Mark for all their work on this.
Thanks, Jen. And yes, thanks Yvonne and Mark and Tracy too for helping get the list finalized and checking details and all that kind of stuff. All right, so Tracy, you'll send out the letters then to the property owners in the next little bit. And then if I recall, we give them 2 or 3 weeks to respond back to the township.
That's right. I'll send out the letters to them, give them ample time to review it, contact us if they have any questions, clarifications. And once we have the final list, then we'll start entering it into the actual document. And then it will be an item on council and can be presented by this committee for council's consideration for endorsement.
Great. All right. I think we can move on to our next item. I just got to get my agenda back up here.
Can't hear you, Nick.
Is that better?
Oh, yes.
There we go. The microphone, if it gets too far away, I can't hear
He
it.
was
very
just
well.
muttering to himself.
Next item is the Bridge Street Bridge environmental assessment. Just an update on that. So we did talk about that at the last meeting, and I've since sent around the report so everyone can take a look at it. It was the draft cultural heritage report. And so just to refresh for anyone watching or with the committee too. So there's an EA process in progress with the township, and there was a notice of study commencement sent out last summer, and that's up on the township website. And we received the draft report related to cultural heritage considerations for the bridge. And I wanted to chat about it as a committee. And then following that, I would put together comments to the township and the consultant on behalf of the Heritage Committee, just based on the feedback and discussion. So thought it'd be good to review as a group, and then I can start working on comments back. So I think I'll just open it up to discussion. Don't know if anyone's had a chance to read it or had any things they wanted to chat about.
I think it's a very well done study, very extensive. The information is great. The photography was good, especially the study done by Owen Scott. I've forgotten what the name of his company is, but he was asked by the principal consultant to do the heritage, sort of the heritage assessment of it. And I enjoyed reading it, even though it was lengthy. It was very nice, very well done, really, very good.
I think it's CHC Limited.
I think so. I think that's correct. But the bridge will be kept, right? Or that decision hasn't been made, has it?
That decision hasn't been made yet.
No.
But I recall from looking at the study commencement, I think the project is called Bridge Street Replacement. So
Oh, okay.
the first choice is probably New Bridge. And then, but I don't think the final decision has been made.
Well, Owen Scott recommends designating the bridge, doesn't he?
He has a few
Feels
options.
it worthy enough for that, or it's been a little bit since I've read it, but he seemed to really think that the old bridge was pretty good.
Just gonna scroll over to the recommendations on it.
Do we have cost figures in that of what it costs to replace and what it would cost to refurbish it so it would be safe enough and all drive or whatever? It's not closed, is it? It's still open, right?
It is still open.
Yeah.
I don't believe there were costs in that report.
No. Okay.
So they looked at the different options were do nothing, repair the bridge, replace the bridge in the current location, or replace it in the new location.
Well, I guess sorry. Should be Yvonne's turn.
I just wanted to express my concern that I don't want to see this bridge lost, and lost is the right word. We've recently lost the Holland Mills Bridge, and there are only 4 of the truss bridges left in Wilmot. I really think that it's important that the cumulative, not just the bridge structure itself be looked at, but the cumulative nature of the bridge as part of our heritage. And I don't know how we as the Heritage Committee can do this, but I think it's really important that we do take a stand on it. Because this is actually, for me personally, it's one of my favorite spots in the whole township. I will go out of my way to find this bridge if I can go there. I stop there regularly. I've taken it. It's really it's a jewel, and losing it simply because it is a single span bridge that needs repair and there are costs that go with that. That's not a good enough argument for me personally. So.
Al?
Yeah, just to get back to the report for a minute, in his historical background, don't want to deflate Marge's comments because the report is very, very thorough. But in the historical background, there's a lot of errors. And I think we shouldn't be endorsing a document that has known historical errors, because the document will be presented and accepted by the municipality, and therefore will be a formal document, and people will look at that document and it'll have false information in it, and they'll say, well, that's a document, so that's the way it is. And I don't know where I think he got some of this information because he seems to like Wikipedia, which is not a good source for historical research. It's a horrible source for historical research. In fact, I'm kind of disturbed a little bit that that's what he's using. So there needs to be some changes. They don't really affect the recommendation on the bridge, but they're not correct. So they need to be, he needs to change that. He needs to look, and it's basically around the Josiah Cushman is the founder of New Hamburg, which he is. He died in 1834 in a cholera outbreak, and then William Scott comes to town. He says William Scott renamed Smith's Creek. There's nothing that's not certain. We know Smith's Creek became the Nith River, but you can't just outright say William Scott did it, because that's not conclusive. He may have, but there's nothing conclusive stating that. There's, source that somebody in Ayr named it Nith River. And the other thing is this is a biggie. He talks about Scott building a sawmill around 1848, and it was burnt down in 1902. Well, it was a grist mill, and it did burn down in 1902, but it was a grist mill, and it's basically very close to where the B&W mill is today. So I don't know, there may be other things, but those are pretty glaring, and I think that needs to be cleaned up for sure, in my humble opinion, as someone who does historical research and as a member of the committee. So that needs to be addressed. So I don't know, you need to make comment on that, Nick, to whatever, that we can get that straightened up. There may be other things too, but those are the ones that really jumped out at me. And I'm kind of I would support some of the comments that Yvonne has made. This is a culturally significant landscape, and we're doing a study on that right now. And this definitely is, especially the way you come down on the one side from the hill, where it drops down into the river valley. And I think there were picnics, church picnics and stuff held there in the past. If you talk to someone like Marilyn Serrer, she will tell you that. So it does have a cultural significance. And I think he does suggest that, Owen Scott, that the building is worthy of designation. I don't think he necessarily recommends, but it does meet the criteria that it could be recommended for designation. I don't know if we want to go down that road, but I really think this is a good bridge candidate to be restored. That won't address necessarily the width, but as I think I mentioned at the previous meeting, if that single span is replaced by a full span, it's going to change traffic patterns considerably in the southern end of the municipality, especially in the community of New Dundee. So I would, hopefully, the idea of retaining the bridge and restoring is not just summarily tossed out. I mean, there needs to be a scoring system to show scoring for the different options. And that was done on the Holland Mills Bridge. And I think it was 1 point difference between retaining the bridge and removing the bridge. So we would need to see a scoring system. And I'm sure that's part of the process. I hope that's part of the process. So that's just a few comments I got. I don't want to ramble on.
Oh, that's good. Thanks, Al. I think there would be a scoring system. That is pretty typically done for an EA process. So I expect this would feed into that. So yeah, it would be definitely good to see that. So we'll certainly include that in the comment. Barry, you had your hand up a minute ago.
Yep,
and then
thanks.
Patty too.
And by the way, sorry for tuning in late. No my fault there, but anyway, I noticed on number 7, relocation of smaller, lighter span bridge. Is there a possibility of perhaps lifting it off its moorings, sending it to the side and keeping the bridge as maybe a pedestrian bridge, and then create a new bridge? And the other thing that was mentioned too is it's pretty hard to make assessments if you don't have costs. And I mean, the closing remark of number 7, this can be accomplished at a reasonable cost, but we really don't know what yet. But to me, it's worth trying to save if we can. So.
That's a good suggestion. Patty?
Well, I was just, am I unmuted? Yeah. I was, the historian mentioned that none of these bridges, or that this was not on either the designated or non-designated list. And maybe I don't know whether we should take the block of 4 and put them on the, are they eligible even for the non-designated list? Who knows that? I don't know.
I would think so.
Yeah. But that really shouldn't be part of the reason as to whether this bridge would be kept or not. It just seems like it was put there, that comment was put there, and maybe that's something we should change. Just a thought.
No, that's a good idea. And I think that is something we could look at. I know it's on the region's inventory. I think we talked about that last meeting too.
Yeah, it's also on the, I think the Grand River Conservation Authority inventory. One of them is designated. The Hartman Bridge is designated under Part 5.
I do see in looking at the report, so it does go through a whole bunch of different options about retaining it or modifying it. And then it does get down to, as mentioned by Councillor Fisher, number 7, it's retaining it in another spot. And then number 8 is removal and replacement with a sympathetically designed new structure. And the conclusion is that they say that different conservation mitigation options should be taken into consideration during the preferred alternative selection. And it says the preferred alternative is mitigating measure number 8, documenting the bridge and commemorating it with a plaque on the new structure. And then it says this is considered the minimal acceptable level of mitigation. But I do like the idea of exploring number 7. If assuming the need is that we need a new bridge, a wider bridge. I don't know if that's been determined, but if the bridge needs to be replaced, trying to retain the old bridge nearby, I think would be I guess a good alternative. Jen, I saw your hand up a minute ago.
Thanks. I also saw that Tracy had her hand up a little while ago. So
sorry, Tracy.
I'll keep it really brief. I hear what Councillor Fisher is saying. I agree. You know, if we can at all salvage it, it's a piece of history. And if we don't save them, they won't be here 50 years from now. You know, obviously that also comes at a price tag, but we should certainly look into what that price tag is before we make a decision on this. Yeah, and you know, if it could be used as a walking bridge, you know, maybe we could build some more trails in Wilmot.
I'll definitely include that in your letter too. I think that's a good point. Tracy, did you want to add?
Yeah, I was just going to add, which kind of dovetails to this. So when we're talking about the Holland Mills Bridge, this committee discussed way back when, and it was trying to salvage it and then, you know, other use for it. And there was talk about, could we use it as part of a walking trail? Could it be laid as part of it to be included as a kind of a neat outdoor architectural feature? So that definitely came up with the Holland Mills. And then depending on the fate of this bridge here, we also have the opportunity when it comes to signage, which Holland Mills Bridge signage is going to be something on the schedule for this committee as well. And I think we're about 80% done on that signage, on the wording to have the signage for Holland Mills to share with people that what used to be here and the history of it. So just reminding everyone of the signage and the reuse of the bridge.
Thanks, Tracy. That was a tie between Al and Jen.
Go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say you could go ahead. I'll keep mine's one comment to the weight capacity and use. I know that there's been a lot of conversation about it not being big enough for various farm equipment and trucks that need to access farms. So that's for the farming community, a fairly big concern.
Okay, I can, my comment kind of relates to that. The load restriction, I mean, the two main concerns, aside from structural integrity. Now, this bridge has never probably since it was put up in 1912 had a full restoration. If these things would have been done on a regular basis, these bridges wouldn't get to the point where they are now. That's water under the bridge, to use a very bad pun. But the weight restriction can be remedied because it was on the Hartman Bridge. The Hartman Bridge hired a company, and the guy with it was based in Kitchener. He came up with design is not the right word, but a method of making it so that the cement deck did not have to be as thick, thereby decreasing the weight of the deck on the bridge, which has a lot to do with determining weight restrictions. And it resulted in any weight restrictions on the Hartman Bridge being removed. And it's a technology that it can be used on truss bridges. I doubt very much that Case Smart has approached anybody like that, but that option is there, and that would deal with the weight restriction. It wouldn't deal with the width. But as I mentioned earlier, I don't think that we want Bridge Street becoming a massive truck route, which it can't be right now because of the Bridge Street Bridge. So, I mean, the weight restriction issue can be dealt with without having to replace the bridge, but they would have to bring in the proper consultant who has the expertise. And I can't remember their name, but they were involved with the Hartman Bridge in that study. So the region would have that information. And hopefully they would be willing to share it.
That's good to know. I wasn't aware of that. Oh, Jen?
So and to the truck route comment from Al, yeah, there are residents who've reached out and expressed concern that if we do replace this bridge, that road is going to become a serious thoroughfare. And they're very concerned about increased traffic and speeding, which they see I mean, it stands to reason that if we improve a structural feature like that, there is going to be increased traffic on it. But with the reconstruction, even increasing the weight, I'm not sure that would address the issue fully for farmers needing to bring trucks across, because the height restriction as well. And I don't know if there's anything that can be done on the height. I know that height has been an issue. I believe there are several fairly significant impact locations on the top of the bridge where someone wasn't quite aware of just how restricted it is and tried to cross it.
Yvonne?
I just wanted to talk a little more about the fact that it's a single vehicle bridge. And I really think that it being a calming measure is something that we should be looking at and appreciating, because if you look not too far from there in New Dundee, they're trying to get people to slow down, and they're having a really hard time having people slowing down. And this bridge, I mean, Bridge Street is, where it is running. I know that like the traffic that is coming through there, will definitely increase if this bridge is removed and the span is wider and it's a faster way to go. We're going to be looking at traffic issues, I think. And so I think that a positive thing that this bridge is contributing is that it is actually traffic calming.
Yeah.
That is a very good point.
Yeah, it really is.
Just
Okay.
if I could.
Yep.
I'm muted. There we go. Going back, because I am a bit of a, I have been around for a while. Not quite as long as Mark, but I have been on this committee for a long time. When the Hayesville Bridge was replaced, that was one of the concerns that was raised. And we all know that the Hayesville Bridge was taken down, even though it was ranked number 7 on the region's list. And it definitely changed. That bridge was a traffic calming bridge as well. And when it was replaced, it has created the problems which exist today in Hayesville, which is speed and increased significant truck traffic. And people of some of the residents of Hayesville mentioned that, and people that are longtime residents from Hayesville will tell you that their lives changed significantly in terms of fear of their safety after that bridge was, that was single lane bridge. Well, that was actually more than a single lane bridge. It was like a lane and a half. So 2 cars could physically meet on that bridge, where they can't on the Bridge Street Bridge. But to make the point is, it significantly changed their lives and their concern about walking along that road. And I can see similar things happening here in along Bridge Street, especially for the people that live out there. It's such a peaceful area, and would have impacts in the community of New Dundee as well, but out there would have a significant impact on their lives.
Out of curiosity, when was the bridge done in Hayesville? It must have been before my time here.
I'm not sure that Al heard you. Nick,
It looks like yours goes on mute and off.
and he's muted.
There you go.
Okay. The Hayesville Bridge was replaced around the time the Spanning the Generations document was created, because it mentions in there, I was on HPAC. I don't know if Mark, if you were on then or not when that.
Yeah, I was. Yes.
The person that was writing the study was as he was doing his research, was quite concerned about this bridge, which was appearing to be very, very high in the rankings, was being discussed for removal, and it was removed. So that would have been the early 90s, mid 90s. Yeah.
I have the document here at home, but I'd have to go and find it. I know where it is, but I think the 90s is correct.
It was shortly after Hayesville Road, or Huron Road through Wilmot Township used to be a regional road. And when the study process on the Hayesville Bridge began, it was in the regional road system. But and I forget when the region downloaded a bunch of roads and stuff to the local municipalities, we took over maintenance of Huron Road. And that happened in the middle of this study. The region went ahead and replaced the bridge because even though it was a township road, they decided to go ahead and continue the process and replace the bridge, or it probably wouldn't have been replaced because the township wouldn't have had the money to do it. So whenever that happened, that was in the early years of Mike Harris.
Artem. I think you might be muted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Well, so if the bridge does come down and we come up with it, like they'll build a bigger bridge, will be increased track traffic. Will it also increase the road degradation? Like with heavier traffic and heavier trucks, and more frequent traffic?
I don't know if that's something that the study looks at.
Yeah.
It would seem to make sense that if you've got more vehicles traveling on it, I think it's just a gravel road right now the whole way along, that I think you could have increased maintenance needed on that road.
Could also be significant costs
Yeah, that's a good point too.
down the road.
Just the road is paved right now, but it's never been upgraded. It's still a gravel road that's just had pavement put on it. So it's not engineered for heavy traffic. Like it's a gravel road that's had a hard surface put on it. Like almost all of our rural roads are now tarred and chipped or asphalted, but they've never been upgraded in terms of the base of the road. So this road it's not wide either. There's no shoulders along that road.
It's very narrow.
Very narrow. That's part of the problem. There's no place to walk. That's part of the problem in Haysville as well. So the road definitely is not engineered. You're going to have an engineered bridge stuck in the middle of the road, but the road on either side of it, either length of it, except for the portion in New Dundee, which was rebuilt by the region, is not up to engineered standards for heavy truck traffic or road width, or heavy vehicular traffic for that matter as well. It was built as a road for farmers to go down in the 1800s.
Okay, that's a lot of good feedback. I think what I'll do is I'll start putting together a comment letter, and then I'll send it around to everyone to look at as a draft. And then if you can let me know any comments, feedback, and then we can finalize and send it off to the township and the consultant. Mark? Oh, you're muted. Mark, I think you're muted. There you go.
Could we ask Al to make a list of the historical corrections, and we could just note that as part of our, I don't know how you want to do that, but I agree with Al, it should be as correct as possible.
Mm-hmm. That's a good suggestion. Al, would you be able to do that? And just put it in an email and send it around. That would be great.
Do you want me to share it with you so that you can put it in the comments, or do you want me to share it with everybody?
If you send it to me, and then I'll put it.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Mark. And okay, I think that was all I had for that one. I think we can move on to the next item on the agenda. So the next one under business was the Cultural Heritage Landscape Project. And Tracy, you had shared information about the project last time, and
Yep.
understand that you've been in touch with the region since then as well.
Yeah, I can give a brief update. So the working group, they did a soft launch of the website, and I had the opportunity. It's just very recent, so I had the opportunity to explore the new website, and it actually looks really fantastic. You can look at areas of Wilmot in detail, explore suggestions. You can make suggestions. You can upload photos, ask questions. It's a really engaging website. Once it is officially launched and goes live, then I'm going to circulate it to this committee. It's also going to be circulated to residents of Wilmot Township. And I'm thinking by the next meeting that we have, maybe we could start a working list of the structures or landscapes features that we feel would be significant to Wilmot Township. But I think everyone's going to enjoy it. It's kind of was better than I thought it was going to look. It's kind of fun. And then of course, living and driving here, and you go around places, and I'm always thinking, oh, this would be a great spot to add. This would be interesting. And we just mentioned some already in this meeting that might be interesting to include as well. So we need to start jotting them down, and maybe we can start when it goes live, we'll start a good list for them.
Thanks, Jason. Did they say when they thought the website or app would be live?
So it's just recent is what they call the soft launch with the working group. So I'm gonna guess at the end of this month, actually. I think it probably next 2 weeks, maybe. You'll be the first to be circulated.
Mark, I saw your hand up a minute ago.
Yep,
Mark?
This is the study done by the region in cooperation with the Heritage Resources Center at the University of Waterloo. Am I right?
That's right. So it's Wilmot Township and North Dumfries are the two
Right.
townships they're focusing
Right.
on. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. We'll look forward to that being circulated for us to input on.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on that item from anybody? No. All right, then we can move on to new business. There was a couple items under there for heritage permits. First item was replacement of the roof at Blue Moon at 1677 Snyder's Road. So I know that Development Services and Tracy have both been in touch with the property owner, and they'd like to replace the existing roof on the building. That's an asphalt roof on the main building. And they're proposing to replace it with architectural shingles. And the color is like a deep gray color, it looks like, from the samples they provided. And they're also planning to replace some of the roof vents and skylights on the building. So it's a designated building, so the bylaw does mention the roof form as a heritage attribute. So then it's circulated to the committee for review and comment. So I guess I would just ask that if there's any questions, concerns, any comments anyone wanted to make about it. Al?
Yeah.
You're switched to mute again.
There.
There you go.
There we go. You mentioned architecture. I'm just going to leave it on now.
Yeah, that's fine.
You mentioned architectural shingles. What exactly are architectural shingles?
They're the ones that they look different than a regular 3-tab shingle. It's like they've got 2 layers on it, so it looks like smaller, like kind of smaller shingles. They did send a couple sample pictures. I can share. They're not great, but maybe they'll help a little bit.
Yeah. I just wondered if they were a type of shingle that's made or designed to look like an older style shingle, like a wood shingle or a metal, that's what I was wondering.
Oh, okay. No, they still look like asphalt shingles, but they just have a bit more of a decorative look to them. I should photo here. Maybe. So it's a bit hard to tell, but over this side would be the top of the shingle that goes underneath the roof. And then you can just see you've got a smaller tab here that's raised, and then it's lower here and then raised up again.
Okay.
So then when it's on the roof, it just has a bit of a pattern to it. So that was what they're proposing to replace. I don't really have another good photo of it. So, but it's a asphalt shingle replacement for the existing shingles on the roof. Jen?
I'm just curious what the original roof was. What did it look like before? Obviously, I don't imagine it was asphalt shingles to begin with.
Mark, perhaps.
I believe in a building that old for sure, it would be cedar shingles, not shakes, which are the thick, lumpy things. The cedar shingles, it would have been the original roof for sure. And further to that, I don't know if it would be our place to suggest that the color of the shingle could closely match a cedar shingle roof, which is more of a lighter brown than gray? Or do cedar shingles in years gone by, do they weather down to gray rather than keeping the cedar sort of look?
They do get a bit gray.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I think the roof now is kind of a brownish color as well.
It's dark.
Yeah.
Darker color. Yeah.
Oh, Patty, did you?
I was wondering if we should be directing them to the Waterloo Region Heritage Foundation. And that comes back to the Wagler, is it Wagler? Behind WO. And we went and talked with them, but that was pre-COVID and haven't been bothering them since. I mean, they were wanting to do a roof, they were wanting to do a metal, Tracy, you know, metal, but looking a bit like a metal, but in pieces, I guess you'd say. And I talked with a couple of people on the foundation, and they hadn't done any of those, but they weren't shutting it down either. People aren't getting any longevity at all in cedar roofs now. So that just seems like not something. So anyway, my first question was, should we be mentioning to the, what is it, Ethiopian Church, I think, people, that they could apply?
If, just to jump in, if we did, then they would have to do like something more historical, right? Rather than what they're proposing. But certainly, I mean, I don't mind reaching out to them. I mean, to tell them that there's funding, possible funding, but we would need to recommend to them what we would want as a committee for them to use for consideration.
So that really hasn't been answered yet. I talked with, I mean, as far as there's what we would recommend. There's also, I don't know that we in good conscience can recommend Ontario white cedar roofs these days because they're not working. And so since the Wagler application has not gone in yet, we don't really know what the answer was going to be on that. Or what do you think?
Yeah, there hasn't been anything further, I know, on that property.
No, okay. Yeah, we were trying to help them with it, and then everything closed down, and that was that. So, yeah, so it's a question.
I think one suggestion could be a standing seam metal roof. Metal roofs last a long, long time. And a standing seam is an old technology, and that may be an alternative. And I agree. Cedar shingle roofs you may as well not spend your money. It just doesn't, no, because you can't get proper cedar shingles the way you used to years and years ago. So that could be an alternative to stand, you know, I think you know what I mean by standing seam metal roof. Yeah.
So then we're back to the question whether, I mean, whether we would recommend that they go to the foundation, and it's the same problem that the Waglers are going to have because they want to put on essentially a steel roof because it will last. So
I was just going to ask you, Patty, on what you thought from the foundation's point of view, and what happens if we guide them this way and the applications declined.
Yeah,
there's always that chance too.
I might make some calls to people and see if they've been approached, because we wouldn't know if they have been approached on any applications like this. Okay, so it's online who's on the Allocations and Finance Committee right now. So I will do that because it's sort of my responsibility to look after the Waglers too on this. So,
Al, did you want to say something a minute ago?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that I don't want to get their hopes up. It'd be nice if there was a metal roof on there. My house has a metal roof on that's been on for over 100 years, and I just had it repainted last year, and it looks like $1 million. Now I have to paint the rest of the house to make it look good too. But a metal roof would be nice. It would last longer, but it would be much more expensive than an asphalt roof. And you're looking, I'm not too sure how, I mean, there's so many additions to that building. I'm not too sure what parts of it, but it would significantly increase the cost from a
It
heritage
is
perspective.
it is just the main part of the
Yeah.
the main rectangular structure they're looking at.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it would be more expensive than an asphalt. Would last longer. It would be more heritage significant. But I don't know how much of the cost, if the Region Heritage Foundation did approve it, they would probably only cover a certain percentage, and it would still mean the congregation would have to find, you know, the money to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Also, financially, I mean, for the church, I know they want to also paint the outside. They want to do some renovations inside. If we can all remember what the Blue Moon looked like inside with all the smaller rooms. So they definitely financially are putting money into inside as well as outside. So.
Mark, did you want to?
I go by that corner quite often when I'm coming home from Kitchener, and the windows on the end wall, which would face Notre Dame, are looking, they need some work on the exterior. Also, if you need an example of a very recent steel roof, Steinman Mennonite Church has had a steel roof put on just in the last few months, and it looks pretty good. That's the one on the corner of, help me out, Snyder's and Nafziger.
Patty? Patty?
I guess, so to our original question of, are we okay? I mean, I think Mark's original suggestion of taking it into, was it the grays or the sort of, what were they asking for in color?
It was a dark gray.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
sleek gray
I would have
almost.
no objection. And you're right, a steel roof would be more expensive. I'm not sure it would be twice as expensive, and then they'd have it, but it probably would be twice as expensive. So if we're just going back to the original question, I'd have no objection to an asphalt roof, which is what has been there.
Mhm.
They just,
We could comment that if we're all okay with it, that the asphalt would be okay, and we just recommend or mention that there is funding available from the region should they want to look at something like the standing seam metal roof or something like that.
yeah, potential funding, because it's just a question. And
yeah,
I talked to a couple of people, and everybody agrees that a cedar roof isn't going to work anymore. So it's just that no one's quite tested it yet, I think. But that's, you know, it may have happened actually by now.
Mm-hmm. It would be nice to know anyway.
Yeah, so I'll check that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark?
I can tell you for sure that the more modern cedar shingle roof replacements do not work, because I have friends who have a house that they've completely restored to museum quality, and it's an 1842 house in Waterloo, and they have put on the second cedar shingle roof in 44 years.
Wow.
So it isn't great.
So then, can we have a motion then to support the application and suggest that there's funding available if they want to consider something else? Jen? And Patty? Any other questions, comments? All in favor? So that is carried. So I will draft something up with Tracy on behalf of the committee, and then I will send it off to them. And we have included some text and other letters too, just to talk about that there's other funding options available. And so I'll incorporate that in here too. Great. Next one was a heritage permit for a new sign at 210 Mill Street, which is part of the Imperial Hotel in New Hamburg. And Development Services had reached out to Tracy and I for a new business sign. on the Imagine Travel office. So they've recently closed downtown, and it's another travel company going in there. So the replacement sign would be the same design as what's there. And I do have a kind of a concept of what it would look like, so I can share that. Maybe. There we go. So it would be Stonetown Travel, and I'll just zoom in there. So it's the same sign band that they're using now, and letters would be a foot high and about 16 feet long for the sign, and they'll be mounted in the same fashion as the letters on the current sign. So it's going to look very similar to what's there now, and mounted in the same fashion and in the same location. So because it's within the Heritage District, wanted to let the committee know and then circulate, and then we can just chat about it. So any questions, comments on that? I can put the sign back up. I just stopped sharing so I could see everybody. Mark?
I think the sign looks just fine. I'm happy with it.
Okay. Anyone else? Thumbs up from Al. Yeah, I looked at it too. I thought it was good, and it's going to look very, very nice with what's there already, and keeping within the theme of the building. Motion to approve the assignment. Al, second by Councilor Fanning. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? That is carried. Excellent. That was the end of the new business, but Mark wanted to add on just briefly the mill in New Hamburg, and just wanted to have a short discussion about that. As you know, the new mill's being constructed just outside of town, and this building will eventually be vacant once the new one is far enough along in construction. So Mark, I think I'll just turn it over to you to just chat about this briefly.
Right. I read it in the newspaper. I think it was the local newspaper, but it just raised a flag for me, thinking, uh-oh, that historic and architecturally significant, and certainly, well, it's in the Heritage District, isn't it?
It is.
Right. So I'm just wondering, I know it's early days, but I just think we should keep an eye on it to see what they want to do with the property. It's an awkwardly shaped piece of property, right?
It is, yeah, and it's kind of tucked behind the post office and police station, and it's got the Mill Street right beside it too.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think we need to keep an eye on it because it is a historic building, and hopefully if they sell the property, they sell, to an owner that will find a new use for the mill rather than a demolition. That's my main concern, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
certainly
make it into a condo
building.
And I'll rent.
That would look really neat. Tracy.
Just like any other property that's in a district, that if it was purchased and if there was anything that we needed to be circulated on, the development services will circulate this committee. And you're right, it's part of the Heritage Conservation District, and it's also classification A. So those buildings are the most significant building downtown. It's like an anchor, I guess, if you will, for the Conservation District. But we certainly would have comment if something was to come up about the mill.
Okay. Oh, Jen.
Thanks. As to the condo thing, that would be very difficult just because it is in the floodplain. While it's not impossible, there would be significant hurdles for anyone wanting to develop condos in that area.
That is very true. Oh, Yvonne, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to comment that I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the regional police are selling their building as well, and that is right next to where the mill is. So that's just a heads up. I don't know where that is in the process, but I read about that recently.
Yes, I'd seen that too. Thanks for the reminder. Al?
The Imperial is also on the floodplain, and they redid their building. So I'm sure that if a proposal came forward, if they got permission to do the Imperial, then they should be able to get permission to do the mill. The other thing I've heard, and this is all rumor, I mean, there was the condo rumor going around, but apparently it's only the milling operation that's moving, that the offices are still going to continue to operate from that building for the time being, because there is no offices being built at the new building. It's strictly, I think they did it for cost reasons or whatever. So I don't think the building is imminently going to close down completely.
Patty?
Yeah, well, I know the Wagner family really is going to be looking for, when it is for sale, they'll be looking for a buyer that will make this, their first choice will be somebody who will do something that's good for New Hamburg with it. That's always been their attitude on things. And so I know that's what they'll be looking for sure. I think the new mill is done in November. I think they're planning, they're thinking it's coming along really well, and I think they're thinking November. So.
Anyone else with anything on that? No? So I think we'll, like you said, we'll keep an eye on what's going on. And Tracy, you mentioned if there's anything proposed that will be circulated on that.
That's
so
right.
I guess we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
That was all under new business, so we can move on to correspondence. I didn't have anything under there. Mark, it looked like you have something.
I did ask that the item be put on the agenda, the hours of our meeting, because when people responded back to the notice of this meeting and hours, one of the people that's on the committee said they can never meet at 4 o'clock. So that is a problem for them and for us, because it means one member can't attend. I'm wondering if we couldn't go back to our meeting times of 6:30 to 8:30, or start at least at 6:30 the way we used to when we had in-person meetings. That then gives everyone a chance, hopefully, to be able to attend.
I think I would be good with that. Tracy, I believe we did meetings early, just so it was it something about streaming and getting that all set up? And
oh, is it because of
Yeah.
the IT person,
Yeah.
Tracy? Oh,
Well, no.
right.
I'm just going to be double checking that it's still feasible. See, oops.
oh, I see YouTube raising their hand. Is that-
That's gonna be, I think.
I forgot about the IT person.
I can speak to that.
Who's that IT person?
You can have it whenever you like, guys.
Oh, okay.
IT is flexible.
Okay, great.
Aren't they fantastic?
Carl, you're wonderful.
So if we wanted to, is everyone okay going back to 6:30?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Good.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, no, I know we had
Suits
two
me better.
members that were unable to. And I think we were hoping that by May, I think the intention was it would be back in person, which who saw.
So
just in the last couple days what was going to happen.
Ford locked us down today.
I know. I had the Castle Kilbride was opening on Saturday, and we closed before we opened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's fine with me, and I can adjust the any kind of correspondence with our schedule. I can resend it and update it with the 6:30, and that's no problem.
Yeah, I think it does look like we're going to be meeting like this for longer. So.
And yeah, and I'll just make sure that the time's available here. Okay.
Is your summer music program is kaput or on hold, or you don't know, eh? Yeah.
I know. Yeah, no large gatherings. So unfortunately, we had to cancel all of our signature large gatherings. So outdoor summer concert series, our Christmas at Kilbride, Ghost Walks, all of those. But we have some interesting, clever programming that Sherry and I have come up with to still keep us fresh and introduce some new things, which is smaller bookings online.
Right. Sorry.
No,
Nick,
it's okay.
I've asked a question out of turn and off topic. So there you
Actually,
go.
it's heritage related, Mark, so it's
It is.
not off topic. And it is a designated property. So this is 100% Heritage Wilmot.
Oh, I actually had a small item under correspondence. So I was put in touch with Nigel at Wilmot Post. Thanks, Jen, for that. And they were putting together an article about the Heritage Committee. So I talked to him generally about like what we do and what attracted me to the committee and some projects we've done, things we do to promote heritage. So he was hoping to get it in either this week's edition or next week's. So there should be a write-up in there. And yeah, he just said to look for that soon. So I haven't seen what edition it's going to be in yet. But we'll see.
When I see it, I can scan it and email it to everybody.
Great.
Barry was in it too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that's right.
The New Hamburg Independent, then that's that what you're,
It was in the Wilmot Post.
oh, okay.
Any other correspondence or info sharing? Don't see any. So then moves on to our next meeting. So that'll be May 5th, and we'll be at 6:30 this time. As long as Tracy can confirm all that's good. So we'll see everyone then.
Just one. Oh, just hang on 1 second. There might be a conflict. Just give me one moment. Anyone else need to have any information sharing? Okay, so our IT is saying that time, that date is a conflict.
Okay.
Sorry. I wonder if
Could we go the next week after, or is it a recurring Wednesday?
how would it work for everybody here for a week later?
Oh, I see hand
Oh,
raised from Carl.
Oh, Carl.
Yeah, so what the situation is there, the Committee of Adjustments are on the first Wednesday of every month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I would have a conflict with streaming because I stream theirs as well. So after this today, I'll be streaming theirs at 7.
Okay.
Okay.
So alternatively, we could do one more. I mean, or we can look at, as long as people would be available the following Wednesday, which I hope is not Castle Kilbride. Would people have a conflict if it was the following Wednesday? And I'm just going to
No, not me.
Just double check.
Well, how about this? Just for the sake of for this, we can. Why don't we sort of do just some emailing back and forth to find a suitable date, and then we can confirm.
Okay.
If there's any conflicts,
Okay.
just in case. Okay, I can do that. All right. Okay. So I'll look after that, Nick.
Thanks, Tracy.
Mhm.
Then we're on to motion to adjourn. Jen and Barry. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thanks everyone for joining, everyone viewing online, and enjoy this nice sunny evening.
Have a good night.
Right.
Everyone.
Thanks.
everyone.
Everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.